Alright, no idea when this video is going to be going up, but as of the filming, it is June 4th, the day that the State of Play happened. Just wanted to film the video today. If I have to be a little quieter, I apologize. I don't have a quiet house necessarily right now, and I don't want to be super loud. But either way, I wanted to get this video filmed because this week is going to be busy. Switch 2 is coming out tomorrow, Summer Game Fest is Friday. I'm probably not going to do a video on that, though. And the Xbox show is Sunday. Like, it's gonna be a busy time. So I thought that I'd film this now, just to get it out of the way, have it done and ready to go as fast as I humanly can. Apologies if I don't get it up before the Xbox show, though. But either way, welcome back to I Want to Talk About, the series where I take a topic, I sit on camera, and I blabber about it. And you know the deal, you know what time of year it is. As you can tell from the title today, I want to talk about the PlayStation State of Play for June 2025. Not gonna mess around with a long intro this time, you kind of know the drill at this point. It is not E3 season. It's the time of the year in June where a bunch of companies get together and they have showcases of new games. But it's not E3 anymore because, you know, E3 is dead, basically. RIP. And out of the big console manufacturers, Sony is the first one to go with this PlayStation State of Play over here. And I didn't really set my expectations to the sky for it because State of Plays are usually very nondescript, not really that insane or incredible or anything like that. But honestly, I think setting my expectations a little low is kind of a good thing because I really enjoyed this show. Like, this honestly might be one of the best State of Plays that they've had, maybe even the best. I can be harsh on these things, but this one had a lot of games that I'm genuinely really looking forward to playing. You know, I have my notes here of all the games they showed, so we're just going to jump right in. Starting off with a game that I am very, very interested in, Lumines Arise. I played Lumines Remastered because it was on Game Pass a while ago, and I've mentioned in some videos that I love me some puzzle games, especially like Tetris and Lumines and things like that, and Lumines Remastered was dangerous. Like, if I didn't delete that game off my Xbox when I did, I don't know if I would have been able to play many more games. I would have just been too hooked on Lumines. Lumines is just that addicting, so a new one has me very, very excited, and it's made by the team that made Tetris Effect, which, if you watch the visuals in the trailer, you will definitely understand that. It basically looks like Tetris Effect, but in Lumines form. But it looks amazing, and apparently it has some PlayStation VR 2 support, which I guess doesn't surprise me now that I mentioned it's made by the team that made Tetris Effect, which was a game that had VR support, so yeah, I mean, that's pretty exciting, and this is a game that I'm definitely looking forward to. It's coming out this fall. Really, really gonna be excited to play this one. But moving on from that, we got a big surprise. I did not expect to see this game, but we finally got it. Pragmata, finally. For those that don't know, Pragmata was a game that was first revealed at the original PlayStation 5 show back in June of 2020. So 5 years ago it was revealed. But since then, we really haven't gotten to see much of it. Just a couple occasional moments where Capcom was like, oh yeah, we're still working on it. We promise. But now it finally returned, which I'm glad to see it come back. It, you know, seemed like an interesting premise when I first saw it, and it does look pretty good. I do think that the gameplay that they showed looked a little slow for some reason, but otherwise the action gameplay seems pretty cool. For some reason, when I first saw it back in 2020, it kind of reminded me of Death Stranding for some reason, and I kind of hope the game doesn't really play like that because I, on a personal level, just wasn't that crazy about Death Stranding from a gameplay perspective. That's a game that actually wasn't here at this show. Death Stranding 2, how about that? It's coming out very soon, so I guess they just didn't feel a need to. But either way, I'm definitely keeping my eye on this one because Capcom has done a really good job over the last few years. They've been on quite a heater, and obviously, if they had to take their time making this one, hopefully that means that it's going to come out really polished and really fun. We'll learn because it's seemingly finally coming out next year, so here's hoping. From there, we got to look at Romeo is a Dead Man, the new title from Grasshopper Manufacture and Suda51. It's funny, I was watching the show with my brother, and he pretty much clocked almost from the jump. Like, this, he was like, this looks like a Suda game, and lo and behold, it was a Suda game. I will say I'm a little bit disappointed, just a little bit, that the entire game doesn't look like the aesthetic from the early part of the trailer. Like, that early intro visually just looked so arresting and so awesome. I wish the whole game looked like that, but I understand the game jumps between gameplay styles. It does the gameplay roulette thing, so of course some parts may look like that, others won't, you know, shit happens. It does look very fun. I know that even though I don't really play a lot of his games, I only play the littlest bit of No More Heroes, I know that Suda51 goes off the wall and buck wild with his games, so I fully expect this game to do that as well. And again, this is another one that I'm definitely keeping my eye on. It's a really fun-looking action game, and again, Suda has a tendency to make some really pretty arresting, visually stunning, you know, spectacle-type action games, so hopefully this is another one. It's coming out next year, so we got a lot of time until we actually get to properly play it. Then we got a game that I know a lot of people have been excited for lately, and I ended up being pretty excited for it after watching it in the show. Silent Hill F. Recently, I tried the Silent Hill 2 remake at the end of last year. I, for some reason, couldn't get into it, though I do have to acknowledge that maybe it's because at the end of last year I was just in a crunch to finish as many games as I could so I could get my favorite games of 2024 video out. So I do acknowledge that I probably have to give it another chance. Maybe at the time I just found it to be too slow because I just wanted to get to other games or something like that, and I was feeling overwhelmed. So maybe when I'm not as crunched, I'll give it another chance. But looking at the gameplay here, this one does look very good. Gameplay-wise, I don't think it looks like totally different from what Silent Hill 2 Remake did, but honestly I think that's kind of okay. At least it's kind of building on what that game did, and it does look super scary. Like, when it comes to horror games, I mostly just play Resident Evil, and from what I've seen, Silent Hill in terms of the scares makes Resident Evil look like Child's Play. Not the movie Child's Play, the term Child's Play. You know what I mean? Like, there were definitely a lot of points in the trailer where I was like, oh, ooh, like, things like that, because, oh my god, it was pretty freaky. This is definitely one I'm keeping on my radar, though again, I'll probably have to replay Silent Hill 2 Remake first before I fully decide if I want to jump into this one. But it is coming out September 25th, so that'll be good to have later on this year. Good to see that the end of year schedule is starting to kind of fill up a little bit with some exciting new games after a certain big one got delayed pretty recently. From there, we got to look at Bloodstained: The Scarlet Engagement, the next installment in the Bloodstained series, which is, I believe, like a spiritual successor to Castlevania. I've never really played them, but this is another one my brother clocked right away. He knew right off the bat, like, oh, that's Bloodstained. It looks cool. Again, I don't really have much experience with this series, and I don't know if this is one that I'll play. It kind of does look very similar to a lot of 2.5D platformer Metroidvania type games that I've seen. But I am glad to see this franchise continue, and I don't know if it was just how they kind of arranged the gameplay or what, but it looks like it's a co-op game, so that seems pretty fun. I couldn't tell if it was co-op or if you're just like one player controlling two characters at a time, but either way, seems kind of cool. Maybe not for me, but I'm sure it's going to be really exciting to some of you guys, and it is coming out sometime next year, so that'll be something to look forward to, and I'm sure we're going to see it at about 2 or 3 or 12 more state of plays before it's finally ready to go. Next up, one that I have talked about in a previous video, I'm pretty sure, I think it was in the last state of play actually. We got to take another look at Digimon Story Time Stranger. I've mentioned it before, I will always have a soft spot for Digimon. It's a franchise that I grew up with. I really enjoyed the anime, I enjoyed the dub, of course, you know, I watched it on Fox Kids or Jetix or whoever was showing it back in the day. So I loved the show, I played some of the games, I even had the card game when I was younger. But this kind of game, again, is not really for me. I watched my brother play some of Digimon Story Cyber Sleuth, and just wasn't really my kind of thing. If anything, this trailer, though, I think impressed me because, one, I'm sure if you're into this kind of game, it looks awesome, but also it was cool to see the amount of Digimon that were included in this trailer, and you know, obviously there were a lot of Digimon that I recognized from back in the day where I was like, oh, hey, look, it's this Digimon from, you know, Digimon Adventure 1 or 2 or, I can't remember the name of the third season off the top of my head. Tamers? Okay, I did just look it up. It was Digimon Tamers. I do remember that. And there was a part in the trailer where it seemed like they were using what looked like the old school Digimon playing cards. Like I saw like a design of Agumon on one of the cards that looked like the old Agumon playing card. And I kind of nerded out at that. Like, again, that was pretty nostalgic. Again, I won't play it, but I'm glad to see it. It looks good for what it is, and again, the person in me who has a soft spot for Digimon is just happy to see more Digimon games come along. And again, it's coming October 3rd, so that'll be a fun one to look forward to later on this year. Another one that I'm sure a lot of people are really excited about, even if it's not my kind of game, Final Fantasy Tactics: The Ivalice Chronicles. This was one I really wanted to be more excited about. I just don't really play a lot of tactical games like that. When it comes to Final Fantasy, I play a lot more of the, obviously, action-based ones. And look, that is not because I think turn-based games are bad. I just played Clair Obscur, I was able to beat it, it's all good, I could play a turn-based game. I'm just not as in love with turn-based or tactical type games. I just kind of prefer action games. I respect them for what they are, though. But this is cool to see, because I know a lot of people really enjoyed Final Fantasy Tactics when it first came out. And it's cool that this new version has two versions of the game. There's an enhanced version and then the original version of the game, like the classic version. I always like when a remake or remaster does something like that. Even if it's not the full-blown original version of the game, I think it's cool when they do that thing where like you can switch the visuals between like the new ones or the old ones. And again, in this case, it sounds like you could just switch the entire game to the old version. So I think that's cool. That's really dope to have return on a modern platform. Again, won't be for me, but I'm excited for those that are going to be grabbing it. I'm sure a lot of people are excited for it. And it's coming out September 30th, so that'll be a fun game to look forward to in the fall. Try saying that 5 times fast. Couple slightly smaller ones next. We got to look at Baby Steps, which I remember seeing at a past State of Play. I think it was late last year. I don't know. A lot of State of Plays blur together to me. But yeah, this is a new game from the developers of games like Ape Out and Getting Over It, which this one I kind of clocked because when I was watching it during the show, I was like, it kind of reminds me of Getting Over It. Or as it's fully known, Getting Over It with Bennett Foddy. And Bennett Foddy is one of the people that's working on this game, so there you have it. And again, it looks very silly and very funny. It's like a physics-based game, kind of, where you're like a man who's like learning how to walk again. And, you know, there's a lot of chaos to it, and I love me a game that is very chaotic. I'm not 100% sure if I'm going to play it, but I think the bizarro nature of it is really great. And it's one that I'm at least kind of cautiously interested in. It's coming out September 8th, and again, I'll have to see a little bit more of it, but from what I saw in this little bit here, it looks really funny. Like at first when the one guy on the stream was like, oh, this game made me laugh so hard I almost barfed, I was like, okay, that sounds like you're exaggerating a little bit. But then as I was watching the gameplay, I was like, yeah, it is pretty funny. So we'll see. As it is, it looks pretty good. I'll see if I'm going to grab it later on in the year. One game I am looking forward to that's coming out later in the year is the next thing they showed, Hirogami, which is a new 3-action platformer from Bandai Namco Singapore with an origami-based style. You play as like a paper that you can fold into different origami shapes and stuff like that. It looks awesome. It's a very stylish and vibrant looking game, and I kind of like that it's like a 3D platformer version of something like Paper Mario. Because again, in Paper Mario, you can kind of fold into different shapes because Mario is made of paper. In this one, it's the same thing. You can fold into different like origami shapes and things like that. And I think that's really cool. They didn't show a ton of it, but they definitely showed enough of it to get me excited. And it's one that's definitely going to be on my radar as a late year game. It's coming out September 3rd, so right before the busy time of the year in terms of games. I'm definitely looking forward to seeing more of this one and hopefully grabbing it sometime later this year. For some reason during the show, it also reminded me of the Plucky Squire, and I enjoyed that game. So yeah, if this is Plucky Squire times 1.5, I'm okay with that. Then we got another look at Everybody's Golf Hot Shots, which I previously saw and talked about at the Nintendo Direct back in March, the last like Switch 1 Nintendo Direct, and my thoughts on it haven't really changed here. I'm glad this franchise is getting to continue, given that it was a Sony franchise for a while, but it's just not really my thing, so I won't really be playing it. It is cool that Pac-Man is playable now, though. He popped up in the showcase, and it was his classic, you know, Pac-Man world design and stuff, and I was like, alright, sick. That's awesome. I'm glad to see Pac-Man here. Otherwise, yeah, this one's coming out September 5th, so hey, September's getting filled up with some pretty nice little appetizer-type games. Hopefully one or two or more that I've talked about so far are interesting to you guys. Moving on to another pretty recognizable franchise, we got to take a look at Ninja Gaiden Ragebound. I don't know if this was previously announced or if this show was the place where it was first announced, but if it was previously announced, I probably forgot about it because my mind was thinking more about the fact that Ninja Gaiden 4 is coming out later this year. But yeah, this was the year that I actually popped my Ninja Gaiden cherry because I played Ninja Gaiden 2 Black when it came to Game Pass. And that game was awesome, but obviously this one is significantly different because that game was 3D, this one is 2D. It still looks awesome as a super stylish 2D platformer game, but knowing Ninja Gaiden, it'll probably be difficult as fuck. Granted, Ninja Gaiden 2 Black did have an easier difficulty option, so who knows? But still, it looks really great. And again, I know Ninja Gaiden was gone for a while, so it's been really great to see Ninja Gaiden getting the amount of support that it's gotten this year, with Ninja Gaiden 2 Black earlier this year, Ninja Gaiden Ragebound coming July 31st, because I was going to mention that it's coming out July 31st, and Ninja Gaiden 4 coming out later this year. Really cool to see that franchise getting so much love. From there, a game that I hope I'm about to pronounce correctly, Cairn. It's a new game from the game bakers, the team behind Fury and Haven. It's a rock climbing simulator. That's literally how it was described when I looked it up. It's just a game that involves rock climbing, basically. I'm sure it's going to be interesting, but there is a part of me that watched this gameplay and kind of wonders if the game's going to feel like a novelty and kind of like wear out its welcome somewhat fast or something like that. It kind of reminds me of that Jusant game that was on Xbox Game Pass back in 2023, which was pretty and very adventurous, but didn't really hold my interest very long. I hope this isn't that. I hope it's not another one of those, oh, I'm playing someone's art project kind of games. Like, I don't know, rock climbing seems like a fun concept for a game, but I just hope that it's deep enough and, you know, interesting enough as a game. If anything, it's coming out November 5th, so it's cool that it's coming out this year, and there was a demo that released for it today as well, so I'll probably try out the demo and see how I feel about it then. But then we got into what was one of my favorite announcements of the show, one that got me very, very excited. We got the announcement of the Mortal Kombat Legacy Collection. Wow. It's funny because actually my first article that I wrote for my current job, which you can see on the screen here, was actually an article about the rumors surrounding some kind of remaster of the original Mortal Kombat trilogy. Now, this article didn't end up being entirely accurate because in it I talked about some rumors that Eyeballistic was going to be the one working on this remaster, but no, it turns out it's the game preservation gods at Digital Eclipse that are going to be handling this baby, which is great. And it also turns out that while my original article was talking about the trilogy being remastered, this is even more than that, because this collection features the first 4 games, actually technically 5, because it also includes Ultimate Mortal Kombat 3. It includes GBA titles like Mortal Kombat Advance, Deadly Alliance, and Mortal Kombat Tournament Edition, and apparently from the PlayStation blog post that I saw, more to come. Like, there was a section that had multiple question marks, as if to say, yeah, there's going to be more games in the collection we haven't revealed yet, and that's crazy to me. Here, I think even as someone who never really played the classic Mortal Kombats, I and many others probably would have been just fine if they only did Mortal Kombat 1, 2, and 3, but now they're doing Mortal Kombat 1, 2, 3, Ultimate Mortal Kombat 3, Mortal Kombat 4, several GBA games, and several games that they haven't even announced yet. And obviously, much like, say, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Cowabunga collection that they did, this collection includes, you know, arcade versions, console versions, and handheld versions of the games, so that's nuts. There's online play with rollback netcode. That's fucking crazy. Like, it is insane what this collection's going to include. As someone who has played the more recent Mortal Kombat games and has really enjoyed them, I'm definitely interested in going back to the classic versions, and it's going to be nice to have something like this that has them readily available on a modern console. And it's coming out later this year, so that's pretty dope. What's also dope in the fighting game sense is that Sony then showed off Project Defiant, which is their own version of a fight stick. It is a fight stick. It's a wireless fight stick with, as they describe it, extremely low latency. And I don't have a ton to say about it, but I do think this is really cool. I'm not surprised to finally see Sony jumping more into fighting game territory because they did purchase Evo back in 2021, so it's cool to see them doing more fighting game stuff, and there's going to be more of that later, don't you worry. But yeah, this is coming out sometime next year. Definitely a cool thing to have. I probably won't get it myself because I do enjoy fighting games, but I don't play them hardcore enough to, you know, use a fight stick. But it's pretty cool. I just hope this is affordable. From there, we got to take another look at Metal Gear Solid Delta Snake Eater, a game that I have seen many times at many different shows up to this point. So I don't feel like I really need to say much more on it. But again, it still looks very good. Every gameplay showing I've seen of it, I've been pretty impressed by. Even as someone who's not a big Metal Gear Solid guy, so that is saying a lot that, you know, I even think it looks very good. I might even end up buying it, I'm not 100% sure, but it does look really cool, so we'll see. They did also reiterate, of course, that there's going to be Ape Escape. The minigame from the original MGS3 is going to be here, so that's awesome. I know that on the Xbox and PC versions, it's going to be Bomberman, because I guess they can't use the Ape Escape characters, which is still kind of fun. And the end of the trailer seemed to tease something about, like, Metal Gear Online or something like that. Again, I don't know. I don't really know Metal Gear that well. The only Metal Gear game that I've played and beaten was Rising. So I'm pretty sure the tease for Metal Gear Online was cool. Again, I'll let the Metal Gear Solid fans let me know. It's really cool that this is happening, and it's cool that it looks this good. And again, it's coming out August 28th, so pretty soon. That'll be a fun end-of-summer game to get wrapped up in. Bit of a surprise next, one that I totally didn't see coming. We then got to take a look at Nioh 3. I hadn't even heard anything indicating that Nioh 3 was coming. I didn't hear any rumors or anything like that. I mean, granted, I could have just been sleeping through it because I don't really play these games, but It's cool that it is. I never played them, but I do know that the Nioh games are very well liked, so it's definitely cool to see this franchise continue. I think the only thing I could say is that this trailer did very little for me because I've said it before, but in State of Play, Sony loves to show action games and often a lot of Souls-like games. This one didn't have a ton in the way of Souls-likes, but the point is, with how many action games they show, sometimes they blur together just a little bit. And I think this one, when I was watching it the whole time, I was just like, oh, it's a Team Ninja game. Oh, it's a Souls-like. That looks kind of cool. Oh, it's Nioh. Huh. And again, I've mentioned it before, I don't play a lot of Souls-like, so this one isn't really my thing. But it looks good, and I'm sure it's going to be very successful. It's coming out early next year, and that'll be a fun game to look forward to. From there, we got to look at the one dedicated VR game during the show. That game being Thief VR Legacy of Shadow. Yes, Thief makes its return, and it returns as a VR game. And not only a VR game, but one that is based on the 2014 reboot that I know a lot of people were not that crazy about. I mean, I feel like I would have been excited about this at a point, even as someone who never really played Thief. But the thing is, I've said this many times before, and I'll say it again, Sony has squandered so much goodwill with the PlayStation VR 2 that I just find myself less excited about VR these days. I know there are some people that might not like it when you say like, oh, Sony hasn't done enough to support the VR 2. Well, they literally haven't. They haven't published a game for the VR 2, their own game for the thing, in 2 years, and they've been closing down studios that were tasked with making VR games. So, yeah, I mean, they've basically kind of left third-party and indie studios to fend for scraps and have done nothing to support VR, which is still a niche technology, and they haven't really done enough to kind of sell the thing. I have a VR 2, and unfortunately it's just kind of collected more dust than I would have liked. And I feel like I'd have been more excited about it if Sony actually had some first-party VR 2 games, but alas, here we are. I know that was a bit of a diatribe, I'm sorry, just had to. It's probably the only real downturn that I'll mention from the show right now. I mean, the game looks okay, this Thief VR game looks alright, but I probably won't play it unless it comes to PS Plus. Which, I feel like it will at a point, because I feel like so many of the VR games are coming to PS Plus at this point that I'm just like, probably will. The game's coming out sometime this year though, so if it comes to PS Plus, it probably wouldn't be till next year, but we'll see. Moving on from there, we got to look at Tides of Tomorrow, a new game from Digix Art? I hope I said that name right. The team behind Road 96. This is a multiplayer story game set on a boat, where, you know, your choices have consequences on the story, that kind of thing. You can kind of go between different characters, and depending on who you choose to help, that impacts the outcome of the story. At first, I wasn't so sure about it because I heard multiplayer story game, and I'm not too big on a multiplayer game, so I wasn't sure if this was going to be my kind of thing. It looks pretty cool, but I just kind of feel like I need to see more of it. Like, it's a really unique concept, but the way they showed it, I feel like it didn't really do enough to really tell me if I should be excited or not. I think I need a little more time to see it, like a full, uninterrupted look at gameplay, before I draw a proper conclusion on it. And it looks like I will have that time because it's going to be coming out February 24th of next year. So chances are this will probably show up in the inevitable September State of Play later this year, and I'll probably learn more about it then. Something else a little lighter here, but one that I'm very excited about. Some little news that I'm excited about, rather. That was a sentence, I promise. Some more Astrobot content. They did announce during the show that there are going to be 5 new challenge planets with some new special bots. They did mention that Atsu from Ghost of Yōtei is going to be one of them. And look, you guys know this, Astrobot was my game of the year last year. It's genuinely one of my top 5 favorite games of all time. I am one to absolutely spread the Astrobot propaganda. It is an amazing game. So I am always down for more Astrobot content, even if it is just a few more levels. I'm okay with that. As long as they're cooking up another game or maybe an expansion or something, I'm down. Even if it's just a few more levels, that's more of a reason for me to pop the game in my PlayStation and play it again. Astrobot's just that good. I love the game, and you guys should play it if you haven't already. They also confirmed that the Astrobot PS5 DualSense controller is coming back with a twist, but they didn't say what it was. I'm sure we'll learn about it sometime soon, but yeah, the new content for Astrobot is coming out later this month, and I presume the controller will probably follow suit. Either way, I'm excited. More Astrobot content. Love to see Team Asobi strive. They are fantastic. A little closer to the end of the show, we then got to look at Sea of Remnants, a new game from Joker Studio, who, from my research, previously made a 2018 multiplayer game called Identity V, or Identity 5. I don't know. You guys probably know better than I do. This is an ocean-based RPG kind of game, and it looks very pretty and very visually striking. I kind of noticed that all the characters look like they're kind of made of cardboard or something like that, so that's pretty striking. Rather, I just had to look, they're basically like puppets, so either way, really cool. And it does look like there's some really cool pirate stuff you can do this time around, so that's nice. I do think that there should be more fun pirate games on the market. I know that Sea of Thieves is really popular, but I would like to see some more pirate games out there. I think, again, though, this one, it was a little hard to draw a proper conclusion based on the gameplay. I think it looks like it can be fun, but it's one of those games that I think I'll just need like a more uninterrupted look at gameplay to kind of draw a proper opinion on it. But it's coming out sometime next year, so I'll probably have plenty of time to see that gameplay. Just hope it happens sooner rather than later. Then we got to look at Sword of the Sea. While watching, I was like, wait a minute, did I see this game before? I felt like I had. And yeah, it turned out this game was revealed back at the PlayStation Showcase in 2023, so now it's just, I guess, finally coming along. I don't know if it showed up at a State of Play afterward. Maybe it did, I don't know. But it's the new game from Giant Squid Studio, the development team behind Abzu and The Pathless, that was co-founded by some members of that game company, the team that made Journey. And yeah, if you watch the gameplay, it looks like Journey. Like, you're kind of just like skating around a giant world on a sword, and it kind of looks like it's another iteration of what Journey was, which is not necessarily a bad thing. I don't love Journey. I don't think it's like the greatest game ever made, but I do think it's a fantastic experience, and I can imagine that this one will probably be the same thing. It'll probably be very light on gameplay, and I probably wouldn't think it's like a 10 out of 10 game, but it'll probably be like a really, really strong experience, so I'm looking forward to at least giving it a look. And it's coming out pretty soon, August 19th, and they did say it's going to be a day one PlayStation Plus game, so hey, even if I was just kind of criticizing it at all, I got no reason to say no to it when it comes out, so definitely looking forward to giving it a try. Again, if nothing else, it looks stunning visually. Like, visually speaking, this game is so pretty, and I expect that from a game like this, but still, it's nice to know. From there, a game I had heard about but hadn't really seen much yet, FBC Firebreak, which is a co-op multiplayer shooter set in the world of Remedy Entertainment's Control. It looks pretty fun. I know I've mentioned that I don't really care for multiplayer shooters very much, but this one looks very polished. Again, it's Remedy Entertainment making it, and they have a pretty solid track record, Crossfire X campaign notwithstanding. So I expect this to be pretty good. I'm definitely more interested in just seeing Control 2 eventually, because I really like Control 1. But otherwise, this looks like a nice little spin-off while we wait for Control 2 to fully build. And again, it's coming really soon. I didn't realize how soon. June 17th, so approximately like 2 weeks from now. And it's a day one PS Plus game, so that hopefully should help it get a decent player base, and yeah, I'll probably give it a shot when it comes to PS Plus. Speaking of PS Plus, they then mentioned some of the upcoming PS Plus classics that are going to be coming to the service, and we got some really good ones. I mean, sometimes there have been a few moments where they've announced like PS Plus classics, and I've been like, alright. But no, we got some pretty solid ones that I'm pretty excited about. On June 17th, we're getting the original Deus Ex, so that's pretty dope. I never got to play that game, so this will be a good opportunity to. July 15th, we're getting Twisted Metal 3 and 4, which I'm very excited about because I played Twisted Metal 1 and 2 through PS Plus, so I'll definitely try these ones. Later this summer, we're going to be getting the original versions of Resident Evil 2 and 3 on PS Plus, so that's really dope because I know that the director's cut of the original game is already there, so having 2 and 3 is even better. And this was already confirmed, but Myst and Riven are coming on June 5th, so tomorrow, basically. That's pretty cool. I don't know much about those games, but I know they're very well liked, so it'll be cool to have those there. And then they just reiterated that Days of Play is happening this month, their usual period where a lot of stuff goes on sale, but they didn't say much more than that. You kind of know how Days of Play works at this point if you're a PlayStation gamer. And then we ended with some of the big guns. One that I was very surprised to finally get to see. We got to take a look at 007 First Light. Finally, something for this game. This was first announced back in 2020, but developer IO Interactive went pretty quiet on it for years. The only news we got out of it otherwise was at the recent Switch 2 Direct when they said, oh yeah, it's coming to Switch 2. But we got nothing else to show you. So I wasn't sure what the hell was happening with it, but now it's been shown, and it does look really cool. I am not someone who's really watched any of the Bond movies. I don't know much about Bond. Obviously, I've played GoldenEye. A lot of people have played GoldenEye. I have my unpopular thoughts on GoldenEye. But, you know, I do think a new Bond game is worth having these days. It's been a long time since we've gotten one. And as far as what they showed here, I might need to see a more unfiltered look at the gameplay just to make sure that what I was seeing in this trailer wasn't fake. You know, you always have that skepticism with games these days, but if the game looks even half as good as this trailer was, it's gonna be pretty awesome. Again, IO Interactive previously made the recent Hitman games, and they do really good work, so I am convinced this is gonna be a pretty solid game. I have a good feeling they just only took their time with it because they've been working to polish it, and I'm sure it's gonna come out and be awesome. It's coming out sometime next year, we don't know when, but I'm glad to know that we actually have some footage of it now. Just like Pragmata earlier, good to see these games that we haven't heard from in such a long time finally resurface. And then we got to the few first-party things. Again, there wasn't a ton on the first-party front, which is a little disappointing. You know, I always get disappointed in that, but I think this show was so solid and the lineup was so good that I wasn't really bothered by the lack of first-party games this time around. But the first thing that they showed first-party-wise was Ghost of Yōtei. Very odd showcase for this game, though. They only showed like a few seconds long CGI trailer teaser type thing for the game. A game that's coming out months from now that we've barely seen much of. But I guess they just kind of figured, hey, we just dropped a new trailer, we don't need to show a ton. Again, I don't know if Sony's just like, yo, it's a sequel to a game that like 15 million people played or some shit. They know what this one's gonna play like. Because we haven't seen much gameplay, but I trust it's gonna be good, because the first game was good, Sucker Punch is incredible, I'm sure it's gonna be a great game, I'm still excited for it. It's coming out October 2nd, nice that it's gonna be a fun little like pre-holiday type game, or right around the holiday type game. And there is going to be a dedicated state of play for it in July where they're going to do a full gameplay reveal, so that's good, at least we have that. But then we got to the one last thing in the show, and this got me super hyped. Very, very excited for the last thing that they showed. To me, probably the best thing that they showed. We got the announcement of Marvel Tōkon Fighting Souls. Holy shit. A first-party Sony game, PlayStation Studios, Sony published game, made by Arc System Works as a fighting game starring Marvel characters. Incredible. So incredible that they spent like the last 10 minutes of the show talking about it, which was a little weird, but otherwise, I mean, hey, the game looks fucking boss, so I'm okay with that. I mean, again, the gameplay is going to be amazing. It's Arc System Works. They are the kings when it comes to fighting games. Visually, it looks stunning. You know, it's crazy to see how many Marvel characters they already have here. I know that the comparison that you can naturally make in a 2D fighting game with Marvel characters is Marvel vs. Capcom, and I know the last Marvel vs. Capcom game, Infinite, I think I remember hearing there was something about how like they weren't really able to include like X-Men characters or things like that at the time because they had like a no characters outside of the MCU rule or something like that. I don't know, it doesn't look like this game's going to be beholden to the same thing. I'm sure they're going to have, I mean, I already saw Ghost Rider in the trailer, so I don't think it's going to be beholden to that same ideology. So that's awesome, and again, this is a game I'm pumped for because Arc System Works does fantastic work. They did a great job with Dragon Ball FighterZ back in 2018, and I love that game even as someone that doesn't know diddly squat about Dragon Ball. I have, not that I'm a hardcore fan, but I have much more experience with Marvel than Dragon Ball. So, given what they could do with a Dragon Ball fighting game, I'm really, really pumped to see what they're going to do with a Marvel fighting game. I'm going to be there as soon as this thing drops. I am super pumped. And if anything, again, that really kind of put that fight stick announcement from earlier into perspective. They finally have like their own fighting game. You know, they have Evo, they have a fight stick, now they have their own big fighting game. And this one looks incredible. I saw a lot of other people that were excited about it, and I mean, why not? It looks amazing. I can't wait to play it. It's coming out sometime next year, and already, you know, I know we got a bunch of months until this video comes out, but when my eventual video that I do on my most anticipated games of 2026 comes along, expect this game to be there. 100%. So all in all, yeah, I was pleasantly surprised by how much I enjoyed the show, even with the fact that it only had 2 first-party games, and was even missing a couple first-party games. Again, you know, we still don't know where Wolverine is. Insomniac has said, you know, that they're going to wait to show it till they're ready. I understand that. Death Stranding 2 wasn't there, maybe just because it's so close to release. They probably didn't feel like they needed to again. And also, Marathon was nowhere to be seen, and I know that game's been wrapped in a bunch of drama, so there's a little bit of burying going on there, but I think the show still succeeded for me because the sheer amount of exciting games was just, you know, crazy. And I think, you know, I could be someone who's harsh on the fact that they do, like, so few first-party games, that the output is so small. But there's also a part of me that kind of feels like maybe, and I could just be reaching here, I'll acknowledge that now, I could be reaching, maybe there's a little less pressure to show their whole hand when it comes to first-party games because, you know, their biggest competition is Xbox, and Xbox is becoming more and more of a third-party publisher, like, as we speak at this point, so maybe Sony just, like, is taking a little more time, I guess, if I'm being generous. I mean, yeah, sure, we could also talk about how their multiplayer approach has been so bad, so they're probably picking up the pieces, but with or without the first-party games, when it comes to a gaming showcase, I just want to see games that I'm going to be excited for, that I'm going to want to play. As someone who owns all three of the consoles, I just want to see games that I'm going to enjoy, and this show had a lot of games that I'm really excited for, and that's what matters. There was a lot here that made me excited, and that's really what a gaming showcase should do. It should make me excited about gaming. Am I excited about gaming? You bet your ass I am. Like, finally, it seems like the end-of-year schedule is starting to kind of take shape. I know this was a thing that was happening, but because of, I know I addressed the elephant in the room earlier without saying the name, but because of Grand Theft Auto 6, so many developers and publishers were kind of like tiptoeing around like, are we going to put out our game this year? Because we don't want to get eaten by, you know, Grand Theft Auto. But now that Grand Theft Auto is not coming out this year, here we go. Time for us to learn the holiday schedule. And again, we got some really good stuff to look forward to this year. And already, it does look like we have some really solid stuff to look forward to next year, even in the wake of Grand Theft Auto coming along and probably, you know, doing sales numbers we've never seen before. So all in all, this show got me excited. There were a lot of great games, and what was here on the first party front was good, and I'm satisfied. I'm definitely excited about what they showed here. This was, to me, probably one of the best state of plays that they've done. Honestly, if I had to give it a grade, I would give it an A. I know there might be some things that might dock a point or two for some people and might make you think, oh, B+, whatever, but honestly, I think that Marvel fighting game alone took it up to an A. That game just looks so awesome. And again, I want to play most of what was here, and that's what really matters in a gaming showcase. Do I want to play the games that are shown? And the answer is a resounding yes. So yeah, good show and a good start to the setup of summer shows that we have coming up. Here's hoping Xbox's show ends up being just as good, and when Nintendo's ready with their Nintendo Direct, that turns out really good. Which, by the way, as of the time of the recording, it's 11:30. We are 30 minutes away from the Switch 2, although granted, people probably already have theirs. But still, let's fucking go, dude. Gaming is awesome. I fucking love video games, dude. But as always, that was just my opinion on the state of play. What did you guys think about it? Were you as excited as I was? Were you way more underwhelmed than I was? Were you just completely indifferent toward it? What are the games you're most looking forward to? And what's the Sony first-party game coming out this year that you're most anticipating? Because we have some stuff to look forward to from them. Death Stranding 2 is coming this year, Ghost of Yōtei, Marathon, again, even though it's a little bit controversial at this point. And even next year, I know I said this year, but you can go to next year if you want. Next year, we've got Saros and this Marvel fighting game to look forward to, so what's your most anticipated Sony first-party game that's on the horizon? No pun intended. Whatever your thoughts and opinions are, leave them down in the comments below. Let's keep this civil and have some fun as we like to do. If you guys want to hit like and subscribe and support some of my other ventures that I have linked in the description, thank you. If not, it's no big deal. I totally understand. And yeah, next time I upload a video after this, it's probably going to be on the Xbox show. I don't think I'm going to do a video on the Switch 2, at least not right away. I think I want to spend a little bit of time with it if I do a video. I'm not saying I'm going to. I don't think I'm going to. I don't want to create false expectations. If I do a video on the Switch 2, it would probably be a little bit later. I want to have a little quality time with it and with, you know, Mario Kart and some of the games first. But the next video you'll see from me will be on the Xbox show, which again, I'm hoping is really, really good. Last year's was awesome, so hopefully this year's brings the fun just as well. And then I hope a Nintendo Direct comes along this month and does the same. Either way, there's going to be plenty of gaming to talk about this month, so stay tuned for that. But until then, thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you in the next video. Peace.